call for coronavirus tests at airports to reduce the time travellers spend in quarantine. This morning we'll hear from the Chief Executive of Heathrow.
It comes as one of the senior scientists appears to back the Prime Minister's warning that cases are on the rise in Europe.
What's actually happening is this virus, which had stopped being transmitted so widely because of the lockdowns, has now started to reassert itself, and it's just coming back.
The campaign to offer free school meals to more children, it was backed by Marcus Rashford on this programme. Now it gets endorsement from a major government review.
Good morning. It's 500 test wickets for Stuart Broad. He becomes only the 7th cricketer in history to reach that milestone and says he's only getting better.
Curry and a pint with the Prince. What happened when Peter Crouch and his podcast team went round to the palace for a chat?
There's an Uber driver out there on the floor at the moment being frisked.
Let's have a look at some of the front pages of the papers this morning. We're going to start, I think, with, there it is, the Daily Mail. The Prime Minister fears for what he calls a second wave of coronavirus. That's featuring on the front page today. They're also reporting that Boris Johnson is worried it could start within a fortnight. And the picture there is, of course, of Amber Heard, who was speaking outside on the final day of that libel case involving Johnny Depp yesterday.
The Telegraph reports that the boss of Heathrow Airport is urging the government to allow passengers to be tested for Covid-19 on arrival. We'll talk to the airport's Chief Executive, John Holland-Kaye, at just after 8 o'clock here on Breakfast this morning.
This is The Guardian this morning. Calls for up to 1.5 million more children in England to get free school meals is their focus this morning, with a picture of a Percy pig. I'll explain about that a bit later for you.
Well, the latest developments in the hunt for Madeleine McCann lead the Daily Mirror as well. Should we talk about Prince William?
Yeah, oh yes.
He's been on a podcast, hasn't he?
We've got Peter Crouch on later. Yes, he's done a podcast with Prince William. This was all done before... Well, most of it was done
before lockdown, wasn't it? And they went to the palace and had a pint and a curry.
Yeah, and also Prince William has divulged some information about when he used to play football. What is it?
He said the Duke of Cambridge has joked, apparently, about warding off a schoolboy football opponent. What he did was, he said, when he was playing, everyone wanted to break my legs. And what he did was he got a protection officer to pose as a mock sniper, apparently, asked a policeman to shine a laser's red dot on a rival player. It worked.
That would put you off.
But only for 10 minutes.
Yeah, you sort of work it out after a while.
In that podcast. We'll speak to Peter Crouch about it a little bit later. It should be fun.
And also, Jane has got the sport today, and she's talking about Stuart Broad, who's on... I'll just flash a bit of Broad for you. There he is on the back page of most of the papers. 500 test wickets. I do feel a bit sorry for him because... Obviously, he did it in front of a completely empty stadium, and normally for a moment like that, significant moment like that, you get a standing ovation.
His dad was there, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it was lovely, and he's got his sights set on Jimmy Anderson, who I think has got about 589 now, and is 4 years older, and he says he's getting better with age. So well done, Stuart Broad. Congratulations.
Should we just talk about dogs for a second?
Why not?
Love my dogs. And this is just, it's only, this is in the Daily Mail, and it's Lorraine Kelly who's done an interview, and she talks about her dog, Angus, saying how much he was a real stress buster during a lockdown. She says, back then the news channels were on constantly, I was always looking at social media, it was too much. So now she says she takes a bit of time out, and the main thing that makes it better for her is going for a walk with Angus. The widow of PC Andrew Harper, who died after being dragged behind a car for more than a mile in Berkshire last August, has written to the Prime Minister asking for a retrial after her husband's killers were acquitted of murder. Mrs Harper wrote to Boris Johnson, the Home Secretary, Priti Patel and the former Labour Home Secretary, Lord Blunkett, urging them and others to, in her words, right such a despicable wrong for our country.
Police investigating the disappearance of Madeleine McCann are continuing to search an allotment in Hanover. They confirmed it was related to an investigation into Christian B, a sex offender in prison in Germany who is the main suspect in the case. Work began at the site on Monday and is expected to finish later today.
UK government has signed a deal with the pharmaceutical giants GlaxoSmithKline and Sanofi Pasteur for 60 million doses of a potential Covid-19 vaccine. If proved successful, it could be introduced in the first half of next year. Human clinical studies of the drug will begin in September. The government's now signed deals for 4 different types of potential coronavirus vaccines, which could benefit 250 million people.